Santiago was a shepherd boy from Andalusia, living a simple life among his sheep and the fields of Spain. He knew the land, the stars, and the rhythms of his world. But a restless longing stirred within him. Each night a haunting dream returned. In it, a child led him to the pyramids of Egypt, promising hidden treasure. But just as the secret was revealed, Santiago would wake up. The dream became an obsession, echoing through his days and nights. Santiago stood at a crossroads, the safety of his flock, or the unknown adventure the dream offered. It was a seed of adventure, pushing through the soil of his ordinary life. Santiago knew his story was just beginning. The world was waiting. Santiago needed answers, so he traveled to Tarifa to see a gypsy dream interpreter. Nervous but desperate, he told her about the child, the pyramids, and the treasure. She demanded a tenth of any treasure he found, making the dream feel more real and more dangerous. Confused, Santiago left and sat in the town plaza, trying to distract himself with a book. An old man sat beside him, dressed peculiarly with eyes full of light. The man knew about Santiago's life, his book, and even his secret dream. He introduced himself as Melchizedek, the king of Salem. The king spoke of a personal legend, what you most wish to accomplish. He said, "When you want something, all the universe conspires to help you achieve it." Santiago realized the king was speaking the language of his heart. Melchizedek explained that the treasure was real, but the journey would test him with omens and trials. Santiago had to choose remain a shepherd or sell his flock and pursue the dream. To help, the king asked for a tenth of his sheep and gave Santiago 2 stones, Urim and Thummim, to read omens. The king's words were a powerful push. The dream was not a fantasy, it was his destiny. Santiago felt the call of adventure growing stronger. The choice was clear: step into the unknown or forever wonder what might have been. The king's presence was a sign. Santiago's journey was about to begin. The world was opening before him. The dream was now a mission. The stones in his hand felt like a promise. Santiago's heart beat with hope and fear. The adventure was real, and it was calling him now. He could no longer deny it. Selling his sheep was the hardest decision Santiago had ever made. Each sale was a step away from the life he knew. With the money in his pocket, he stood at the port in Tarifa, staring across the water to Africa. The journey to Tangier was short, but it marked the end of his old life and the start of something unknown. Alone in a foreign land, Santiago felt lost. He didn't know the language or the customs. The 2 stones from the king were his only comfort. Tangier was a whirlwind of sights, sounds, and smells. The city overwhelmed him. The pyramids felt impossibly far away. He clung to the stones, his only guide in this strange world. The bustling port made him feel small and exposed. He realized he was no longer a shepherd. He was a stranger, a target. The dream that had seemed so vivid now felt distant, but Santiago pressed on, determined to follow the call of his personal legend. The comfort of his flock was gone, replaced by uncertainty. Every step forward was a leap of faith. The adventure was real, and so was the danger. Santiago's journey had truly begun. The world was vast and unfamiliar, but the promise of treasure kept him moving. He was no longer a boy with sheep. He was a seeker chasing destiny. The dream was his only map. The stones were his only compass. Santiago's heart beat with hope and fear. The adventure was underway. There was no turning back. The pyramids called to him from across the sands. He was ready to face whatever came next. The legend was alive. In Tangier, Santiago met a young man who spoke Spanish and offered to help him reach the pyramids. Desperate for a friend, Santiago trusted him. The man led him through the bustling marketplace, promising to help buy camels for the desert journey. Santiago handed over all his money. The man vanished into the crowd. Santiago waited, but the man never returned. He realized he'd been robbed. Everything was gone. Alone in a foreign city, Santiago was crushed by despair. The dream of the pyramids now seemed like a cruel joke. He considered giving up, returning to Spain, and forgetting the dream. But he remembered the king's words and the stones in his pocket. He asked the stones for guidance. The answer was yes, he should continue. A spark of hope flickered in the darkness. Santiago was defeated, but not destroyed. The journey was harder now, but not over. He resolved to survive, to find a way forward. The loss was painful, but it taught him caution. The dream was still alive, even if the path was uncertain. Santiago's faith was tested, but he refused to quit. The city was harsh, but he would not let it break him. He clung to the memory of the king and the promise of destiny. The stones reminded him that omens still guided his way. Santiago wiped away his tears and stood up. He would rebuild. He would keep searching. The legend was not lost. The adventure was not over. Santiago's resolve was stronger than ever. The world had taken everything, but not his hope. He would find a way. The journey continued. Santiago found work cleaning crystals for a merchant who had given up on his own dreams. Santiago worked hard, revitalizing the shop and attracting new customers. Business flourished and he learned the art of trade. The temptation to return to his old life was strong, but the whisper of his personal legend persisted. He remembered the king, the stones, and the promise of treasure. Santiago chose to move forward, joining a caravan bound for the oasis of Al-Fayoum. The journey had begun again. This time he was not just chasing a dream, he was pursuing his destiny. The pyramids waited somewhere beyond the horizon. The legend continued. The desert was harsh, scorching by day, freezing by night, and filled with silence. In that silence, Santiago learned to listen to the world and its omens. He traveled with an Englishman obsessed with alchemy, searching for a legendary alchemist at Al-Fayoum. The Englishman sought answers in books. Santiago found wisdom in the desert itself. Rumors of tribal wars spread, making the journey dangerous. The caravan moved quickly, fear ever present. At last they reached the oasis, a city of life in the wasteland but tense with the presence of warring tribes. Here, Santiago's journey would change again. He would meet the man the Englishman sought, the alchemist. The oasis was a crossroads of fate. Santiago sensed his destiny drawing near. The desert had tested him, but he had learned its language. The legend was close. The alchemist awaited. Santiago was ready for the next lesson. At the oasis, Santiago met Fatima and fell in love at first sight. For a moment he considered staying, believing she was his true treasure. But a vision interrupted his peace. He saw an army attacking the oasis. Santiago risked everything to warn the tribal chieftains. If his vision was false, he would die. If true, he would be rewarded. The attack came, just as he foresaw, and the oasis was saved. Santiago was hailed as a hero and rewarded with gold. But his greatest reward was a visit from a mysterious man in black, the alchemist. The alchemist tested Santiago's courage and recognized his destiny. Santiago realized his journey was not over. Fatima understood and promised to wait for him. The dream of the pyramids called once more. Santiago's love for Fatima gave him strength, not doubt. The legend demanded sacrifice. Santiago was ready to continue. The oasis was a place of love and revelation. The alchemist would be his guide. The journey would grow even more perilous. Santiago's heart was set on the treasure, and on his destiny. The alchemist led Santiago into the most dangerous part of the desert. He taught Santiago to listen to his heart and trust the soul of the world. They were captured by a warring tribe. The alchemist claimed Santiago could turn himself into the wind in 3 days. Santiago was terrified. He had no idea how. For 2 days he watched the desert, searching for answers. On the 3rd day, he spoke to the desert, the wind and the sun, asking for their help. He reached into the soul of the world, becoming one with it. A powerful windstorm erupted, astonishing the tribesmen. Santiago had done the impossible. He had become the wind. The chief, awed, let them go and gave them an escort. Santiago had faced his greatest fear and discovered a power within himself. The alchemist's lesson was clear. True magic comes from understanding the world and oneself. Santiago's faith had been tested and proven. The journey to the pyramids could continue. The legend was within reach. Santiago was transformed by the trial. The desert had revealed its secrets. The adventure was nearing its end. Santiago's heart was stronger than ever. The treasure was close. The legend was almost complete. Santiago and the alchemist neared the pyramids. At a monastery, the alchemist turned lead into gold, giving Santiago a piece. He reminded Santiago, "Where your treasure is, there also will be your heart." Santiago reached the pyramids, his heart soaring. He dug where his dream had shone, but found nothing. Thieves attacked, stealing his gold and mocking his quest. One thief revealed he'd dreamed of treasure in Spain, under a sycamore tree at a ruined church. Santiago realized the truth. His treasure was back where he began. He journeyed home, found the church, and dug beneath the tree. There he discovered a chest of gold and jewels. The treasure was real, but the journey had given him far more. Santiago had found wisdom, love, and the language of the world. The true treasure was the man he had become. The journey had changed him forever. The legend was fulfilled. Santiago's heart was full. The world had given him everything he sought. The wind carried the scent of Fatima, waiting for his return. Santiago smiled, knowing his destiny was complete. The adventure had ended where it began. The treasure was both gold and wisdom. Santiago's story was now legend, and the world was forever changed by a shepherd's dream.